I the a-hole for not quitting my job over a colleague's crush? I, 32 female, live with my partner, 44 male, and work in research. My primary colleague, 30 male, and I have worked together for about 2 years on a major project involving significant intellectual and labor contributions from us both. The project is expected to span at least another 2 years and is vital to both of our careers. Not long ago, my colleague confessed to me that he is, and has been, infatuated or in love with me for pretty much the duration. It took place via a long email that was written after an evening of drinking. This was totally unexpected, but in retrospect there may have been some signs, but nothing that wouldn't just as easily be accounted for by considerate personality. Shortly after this confession, I came to my husband with the issue. I wanted to get his advice about the situation, and showed him the drafts which I'd composed to organize my thoughts on the matter. They stated unequivocally that I'm not interested in a romantic relationship, and hope these feelings won't complicate our work together. I was again surprised at my husband's reaction. He seemed offended, to think I must have invited my colleague's affections, and that I should immediately quit my job, as in put in notice tomorrow. I was so taken aback that my immediate reaction was to laugh/snort at a suggestion, which was probably a mistake. That would be utterly disastrous for my career, and isn't an option I'm willing to consider. I'd greatly prefer the entire scenario had never happened, as a difficult and lengthy project hangs in the balance. But I have no real concern at this point about my colleague forcing the issue or letting it compromise our work. It seemed like an intoxicated getting my feelings off my chest. I'll need to put a lot of thought and caution into how I proceed with the work dynamic. But abandoning our project isn't even on the table. About a week has passed and my husband has been alternating between irate and a silent treatment, and suggested several times that I should move out of the house to be with my new spouse. Today I swung by the house on my lunch break, and found the locks changed and my luggage on the patio, and I have been blocked on his work number and cell. Obviously, he cannot possibly intend for me to really move out, and is just pulling what I absolutely believe to be an a-hole-ish power sulk. But seeing how seriously he's taking this has my doubts up. Maybe I was ultimately too uncompromising when I refused to even entertain quitting my job for the sake of conversation and his feelings, and to shut the idea down so abruptly. Am I the a-hole? Now for the top comments before reading the little updates. Not the a-hole. Your husband, on the other hand, he is totally the a-hole. He seemed offended to think I must have invited my colleague's affections and that I should immediately quit my job. Because obviously the only reason someone could possibly have a crush on you is because you have instigated it. Who is on the house? Can't just chuck your stuff out. That's a great conversation to have with a lawyer. House is actually in my name, inherited from my dad before I married. The luggage I packed contained only some random things, a couple of suits, miscellaneous items from my nightstand. This makes me believe he's just chucking an outsized tantrum instead of expecting me to actually vacate. But you've brought up some good points. I know it's hard to face, but I suspect he actually does, if he's gone to the lengths of changing the locks and packing up all your stuff. But if this is how he acts over you refusing to ruin your life over something so minor though, you're probably better off without him. If you do talk to him again, which you absolutely shouldn't unless it's with police present or through a lawyer, do not leave your job for him, no matter what he says. Almost every abusive relationship starts with a man convincing the woman to leave her job. My horrible ex tried it, and thank God I didn't because it was my lifeline, and this behavior has mistreatment written all over it. Find a place to stay that he can't possibly know about and get a lawyer. Change any passwords he would know, especially anything tied to money or credit. Check with a lawyer before doing this with joint accounts though. Keep a charged cell phone on you at all times. Make sure a trustworthy person knows where you are, and consider getting some kind of self-defense tool. He may go insane when he realizes you're actually leaving and not begging for him back. Not the a-hole, obviously. He's actually in for a rude awakening if he tries to kick her out. His name is not on the house. It's her house she inherited. He has no stake to it and legally can't evict her. She can evict him though. He's throwing a tantrum because a coworker has a crush that clearly is not returned at all. And a good husband would never ever demand his partner to risk their entire career over this. I'm sure Opie knows how to handle her workplace stuff, so he needs to cool it. Though Opie, I agree with this. You need a lawyer, and to take some self-defense classes. Not just because you're a tantruming husband, it's a good idea to have the courses anyways. just in case the crush goes sideways, etc. Please be careful. Also, OP, not today haul. Your husband needs help desperately though. He is showing signs of abusive behavior. And now for the updates. Hubby called me. Long story short, he's been extremely anxious each day when I leave for work, and buckled from that pressure today. I'm welcome back home once I've quit my job, which is obviously still unacceptable. I am considering taking a week of accrued paid leave, which will hopefully result in an adult conversation with husband, as well as coming to a decision about how to best handle colleague. That failing, I'm hearing the word lawyer loud and clear throughout these comments. I'm grateful for all of the support and perspective. Update 2. I ended up calling my sister third date female, something I avoided initially because I didn't want to stir the pot by involving family members who are already disliked by husband. I'm currently with her and cousin, 35 male, who are both supportive. Our plan is to call a locksmith tomorrow to regain access to the property. Husband can ruminate with friends or at a hotel for the present, and for cousin to collect some important things of mine from the house, and for me to stay with my sister for a few days while I take a hard look at my situation and options. I'm not set on divorce at this point, but I definitely need to reassert some very basic boundaries before exploring further discussions with my husband. Thank you strangers on Reddit for helping me emerge from the emotional haze with some clarity. Next story is titled, Am I the a-hole for making my husband miss seeing his mom for the first time in over a year on her birthday? Last night was my 21 mother-in-law's birthday. She is 65 and healthy, but my husband 23 hasn't seen her since the beginning of the pandemic. This is important to know. I'm 34 weeks pregnant and also healthy. But last night, I was feeling particularly emotional and physically in pain from working. I'm working from home until my due date, but my boss made me go in to make copies, and that turned into a half-day event. By the time I got home, I was exhausted and in need of a massage. My husband was on his way out of his mom's dinner, and he was expecting me to meet him there. He was disappointed when I told him I wasn't going to go, but he understood. However, when I asked him to stay back for half an hour to give me a massage, he got upset that I'd make him late and in turn piss off his mom on the day seeing her again for the first time since pre-pandemic. So I suggested I get a massage from our mutual friend, my best friend's boyfriend, who is a massage therapist in training. But there's a tiny bit of history between us, so my husband didn't like that either. So to quicken the recount, we argued. He ended up being late. And after his mom called and he blamed me for his being late, which resulted in me getting lectured by his mom, I told him to stay home and take care of me, or he'd have to start paying his own phone bill. I pay his. He did it, but then slept on the couch that night. Didn't speak to me at all today. And tonight when I returned from making more copies at the office, he'd claimed the bedroom, leaving my stuff for sleeping on the couch. About an hour before writing this, my sister-in-law, 30s, called and yelled at me for not letting my husband go to the dinner. He'll be able to see his family, including his mom, whenever now that she's vaccinated, but he missed out on the family reunion experience of the dinner. But I literally just needed some TLC. So, am I the a-hole? Now for the comments before the little update. You're the a-hole. There's a time and a place for needy behavior. That time ain't it. Why couldn't the massage wait till later? You also blackmailed him into staying home, not to mention the weird threat to invite the next over. You're the a-hole. No one's mentioning the whole guy who she has a tiny bit of history with thing, which is such a weird manipulative card to play. You're the a-hole. Time to grow up before your baby comes. You're acting manipulative, immature, and honestly are toxic as hell. Seriously. You said you'd get a massage from a guy you have history with? What? You made your husband stay home to take care of you and threatened to not do something for him if he didn't? You are legit toxic, and I wouldn't be surprised if he does leave you behind after that psycho bullcrap. I'm fairly certain that this is the first Reddit post that has actually gotten under my skin. I don't think I'll be able to add anything new to the conversation here, but I'll give my 2 cents. First, you obviously think you're hot shot if you think that you have the power to threaten a grown man by not paying the phone bill. Providing phone service is a responsibility given to you in this relationship, and you don't get to just shrug your responsibilities because you don't get a damn massage. It's a stupid threat anyway. The man can go and get his own phone if he wanted to. It seems he comes from a family with a backbone. Second, get the hell out of here with this inviting your ex over to give you a massage. Pregnant or not, the man is right to have to put her ass on the couch. That is one of the most disrespectful, immature things I heard in a while. I hope you take a good long time to flip the roles and put yourself in his shoes on that one. Third, I understand in sickness and in health, but he's not your nanny. If you're all tense, take an Epsom salt bath or something. It's fine if you're tired and want to stay behind. His mommy has been there and I'm sure would understand. Let him go eat dinner with a woman who chose to make her life about him. Good on her and her daughter for calling you out on this. You're the a-hole. I wouldn't be able to talk to you for at least a week. And now for the little update. Info. I don't know if it matters, but the history I'm referring to with my friend's boyfriend is a one-sided crush on his side. He confessed his like for me a couple years ago, and my husband hasn't gotten over it. So it's very obvious I'm the a-hole. I mentioned my friend's boyfriend because I'd mentioned the idea before during a regular conversation and he didn't take a pause. This is a friend that's around often, so there's comfort between all of us. But I understand that it struck a nerve for him. I also understand that my being pregnant doesn't give me the right to manipulate or financially abuse him. I could have and should have waited. I just got off the phone with my mother-in-law and I apologized, which she accepted. My husband didn't tell her that I threatened his phone, but I told her. That earned me a lecture, but I took it. I also called my sister-in-law, but she didn't answer, so I left a voicemail asking her to call back. My husband left this morning to go pick up our crib from a friend, and he asked me not to come with him, even though I was supposed to. So when he gets back, I will apologize for my abusive behavior. I knew that was being harsh, but I thought it was warranted. And now I see that it was just abusive. I don't intend to be, as I really do love my husband. I'll do better. Someone in the comments suggested planning another dinner, so I'll talk to him about that too. Final edit. I'm seeing a lot of criticism towards my mother-in-law and sister-in-law for lecturing me. In their defense, I've known them since I was a child. My husband and I were best friends before spouses and we spent a lot of time together. So my sister-in-law sees me as more than a sister by law, and same with mother-in-law. Some of this was happening before my relationship, but it's mostly always been acceptable. Now for the next story. Am I the a-hole for not having sympathy for my fiancé? My fiancé sprained his ankle rather badly at work about a week and a half ago. He's been told to use the RICE method: rest, ice, compress, and elevate. He refuses to do this, or do anything to help his ankle heal. Instead, he insists on putting full weight on it, doing nothing to stabilize it, and having this attitude of, I don't need to do all that, it won't help me anyway. My fiancé is now groaning with pain, and very noticeably limping with every step and can barely go up and down the stairs. He's complaining how much pain he's in, and how nothing has ever hurt this badly, and is looking to me to feel sorry for him and treat him extra special. That's not me. I don't pamper or baby adults, but when I've tried to get him to let me actually help him take care of his injured ankle, it's been rejected. I got fed up and told him I have zero sympathy for him because he won't help himself, and he won't allow me to help him. And he knows he's just making it worse. So stop looking to me for special treatment because it's not happening. Am I the a-hole? Edit. He also refuses to use any mobility aids like crutches or a cane, which would be helpful. Now for the comments. Not the a-hole. He did this to himself. If he refuses treatment, he is going to have to suffer the consequences. My sympathies to you, Opie, that you are dealing with such behavior. You're going to marry this dude? Should you have children, get excited for him to tell them to man up when they've got croup or rear infections. That following doctor's advice is for losers. Not the a-hole. Good luck to you though. Not the a-hole. And in a way, this is a gift to you because this is very useful information to have about his behavior before you're legally tied to each other. He sounds like one of those men that thinks acting strong beats any sickness, trying to be a hero in his head for powering through. Last story. Am I the a-hole for refusing to pay the internet bill because he went and blew a bunch of money? My fiancé is absolutely terrible with money when he gets depressed. He splurges whenever he hits a rough patch. He has never put us in the hole, but he still buys stupid stuffs and almost never gets used, or used once and tossed to the side. He also has a habit of buying drinks and snacks every time he goes to the store, even if he had just eaten. We have easily over $200 in gas station purchases a month. If he's not spending money, he's not happy, basically. We both work full-time at really good paying jobs. However, we have been saving for nearly a year and a half for a 20% down payment on a home loan. Despite us both putting money towards the savings in every paycheck, we don't have much. Maybe $2,500. Why? Because he is on a depressive spell. It has been for like 4 months. Therefore, he's only been putting like maybe $10 out of his paycheck into the savings to my $100 to $150. I don't use the internet. I don't watch TV. I don't play games. I don't use it for literally anything. Despite this, usually I'm the one who pays the bill. We split bills. It runs $90 a month for basic. 3 days ago, I come home to find a brand new toolbox and a bunch of tools. This man is not handy. I have never seen him even touch a hammer. This toolbox and tools run about $350. I was pissed. Didn't pay the internet, now it's turned off. When he asked why the internet was shut off, I made it quite clear that if he wasn't buying stupid stuffs that he will never use, then the internet would be on because we would have the money. I wasn't about to leave myself with $40 for the next week just to pay the bill because he decided to splurge. He tried arguing that those things are stuff that we should have in case of emergencies. I won't budge, and he doesn't have the money to pay the bill either. So now he can't play his video games to decompress. Am I the a-hole? Edited to add. He refuses therapy. He gets depressed easily once a year for months at a time. Not the a-hole, obviously. You have a much bigger problem than an unpaid internet bill. You don't say when your wedding is, but I promise you these problems will get worse after marriage. You say you split the bills, yet it seems you are picking up a huge amount of financial slack. He has serious emotional problems that he refuses to get help for. You aren't taking care of this man financially and emotionally. Please don't marry him before these issues are resolved. It is the refusal to seek treatment for the depressive episodes that is truly alarming. They are only going to get worse with age. Treatment should be a precondition for the relationship continuing. Not today, home. Don't marry someone who you don't trust to share financial responsibility with. I'm curious. How did he save up the money to buy you a ring to propose with? He wasn't depressed at that point in his life. That was 2 years ago before we started saving for a home loan. It's a very simple ring. I think it only cost like $300.